So this is this is our first experiment as Microsoft Teams Live. So if something goes sideways, yeah, let us know. So I think this these unprecedented times, they are really helping us learn some new skills, and this is definitely one of those. But hopefully, I think we'll learn from this experience, and hopefully we'll get better in running some of these events. So on my side, my name is Pankaj. I'm managing partner at Optimus, and as you know, we are a digital transformation partner for mid to large size companies and ISVs in Canada. Very strong partnership with Microsoft, 7+ gold competencies, cloud solution provider, working towards MSP. So a lot of good things happening. And actually, we are surprised that a lot of clients, even in this, I'll say a little bit of economic crisis issue, even then customers are moving towards cloud. And I think even working from remote has somewhat, I'll say, accelerated that journey towards digital transformation. So we are excited about what's going on the technology side. So with me today, we have Pablo, who is the digital transformation lead at Finning. And Finning has been one of the early adopters and proponents and one of the bigger Azure consumers, definitely in Canada, if not all over the world. So Pablo, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah,
please.
I'm Pablo Garcia, and I look after the cloud practices for two of our major online platforms at Finning. So I've been on the digital transformation journey with Finning almost for 3 years now. It's my 3rd year anniversary pretty soon. And like I said, it's been a very, very exciting journey, a lot of lessons learned, and yeah, I'm here to talk about that.
Good. Yeah, no, that's great. And we did an event a few months ago together where Microsoft person was also with you and Mukund was moderating. So so we'll take it like a version 2 of the same series. So can you share for the audience benefit a little bit about the journey at Finning, how it started, what are the primary trigger points for Finning to do that? It's a very traditional company otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing to highlight is that Finning lives in an industry that's actually quite behind in terms of technology. When we started our digital journey a few years ago, we focused on websites and e-commerce, where the world was already ahead of that. So maybe 3-4 years ago, we were focusing on consolidating websites, e-commerce. Then came how do we transact with our customers in an online fashion. 2 years ago, we were still purely almost like startup mode, trying a lot of new features, trying new technology. Our platform was still not quite very well cooked. We're having early access programs. We're getting feedback from our customers. Up to 18 months ago, the way our customers engage with us in terms of orders was on the phone. Not until we implemented order tracking 18 months ago. You expect that from any when you order anything, you expect I can go online, I can track my orders. You couldn't do that with us. So we implemented order tracking 18 months ago. We actually officially went live a year ago with a platform called my.finning.com. So that's a platform our customers can access their information, all their assets, all data coming through IoT, and we are consolidating that information with information from our ERPs and other systems. So it's an integration of all the different data sources for our customers. So that's where we've been going live. It's been great. You only learn about how to run a live system once you're in production. Once you have problems, like bad data, performance, things like that, you're gonna have all the answers up front.
And you did testing on the production server?
Yeah, something like that. We actually have a pretty robust dev QA stage in production. we invested a lot in automation really early on.
Mhm.
We knew that that was one of our key areas of investment, automation. So we were able to test a lot of things upfront. But like I said before, you cannot have all the answers.
Absolutely,
upfront.
yeah. So what do you really, if you have to define digital transformation in few sentences, because it's not just or cloud, agile, DevOps, that's more like means to an end.
Yeah.
But what is really, and everybody has their own definition of digital transformation. What is your definition for?
That's a good question. I think people focus on the technology angle or the cloud angle of digital transformation. And it's actually, from my perspective, it's more about the human side, right? So it's how these technologies or software solutions or applications actually empower people to be more effective, to serve your customers better, to save money, to make money. At the end of the day, organizations live for that, right?
Yeah.
So it's technology and people essentially.
Good. So audience, just for you, feel free to put your questions wherever it needs to be put on the on the Teams live. So we'll be taking questions as we want to make it as interactive as possible. But in the meantime, I'll keep going on what on the digital transformation side. So Pablo, when you guys decided on this journey, and also today, if you take a good digital transformation project, how do you define what does success look like, the return on investment, various parameters? It doesn't need to be dollars and cents, but
it's a very good question. So there are a couple of angles to that. First, your company has KPIs to begin with. So you cannot have a digital transformation or a digital project without trying to tie yourself to one of those KPIs. That's how you will know that you're successful, and when you can move the dial for your organization. So then after that, you can set up whatever KPIs you want for your own projects. And actually, there's a lot written on the internet. You can go online, as people love writing and love talking about KPIs as if they have the exact answer. There's no blanket answer about what the right KPIs are. So define your feature. Be clear about what your KPIs are. It might be moving processes online. It might be reducing cost to serve. It might be faster access to customers' information, something like that. And then tie that up to your company goals. That's how you know, if you're moving the dial for the organization, that's how you know you're measuring digital transformation successfully. Don't make it too complicated. I've seen it the other way around. People love creating like complex KPIs that aggregate into other KPIs and dashboards. Really complicated. If it's hard to follow, you're not doing it right.
So what will be some, suppose a customer is starting their digital transformation journey today. What will be your advice in terms of what type of projects to take? Should it be a simple project, create that culture, etc., or take a big, problem like moving their complete.
Moving your ERP.
Moving your ERP.
Moving your ERP.
Exactly, moving your ERP. Exactly, yeah. So
good question again. I'm a big fan of service design. So if I was to start from scratch, I didn't know anything about the organization, I would say service design exercise. That will tell you what are the contact points, and that will help you identify inefficiencies, friction points, etc. And then based on that, you can say, okay, we are going to come up with a solution for this process. I think if you jump on, we're going to have an online portal, or we are going to implement CRM or something like that, you're actually not looking at the problem. You're like solutioning without understanding what the actual challenge is for your organization.
Yeah. So let me go a little deeper on the technical side. So there are a lot of, so I was talking to a CTO a few days ago. His point was, I want to move to cloud, but still I want to build software in a way so that it is cloud agnostic.
Okay.
which I don't necessarily agree with, because there's a significant overhead, and sometimes you have to be a little bit monogamous and say, man, this is what, But any thoughts on that?
Really good question. I think this was for those, I don't know if anyone online was here on February. There was some flavors of that in that chat in February as well, around how do I go multi-cloud, cross-cloud, and how do you go about implementing something like that? I think if you want to do that, you need to make the decision up front and understand the additional costs that you're about to incur. The good thing is that today, through containers, so for example, we use Docker and we use Kubernetes. So if you start with that in mind,
then
you're ahead of the game. Then with that, it will come complexity, right? There will be how to orchestrate, services and deployments across clouds, and how do you, I don't know if you're going to use it for failovers or whatever you want to do multi-cloud. It will add to complexity, and I'll bring it back to the human factor, right? If you are, let's say, AWS or Google or Microsoft, you can train your employees or your team to be like specific to that cloud and be the best at that. And once you go into that multi-cloud route, it's a whole different paradigm. It's understanding so many other different moving parts and so many other variables that I think a lot of people forget about. And that's so important to keep in mind. And again, something like if you look at something like OpenShift, you might be able to do like this multi-cloud,
the Red Hat OpenShift
microservices architecture. And again, it's like from the get-go, you need that mentality, and you need to understand what you're gaining, but also there's some considerations and costs up front.
So actually, a very good question from someone who is anonymous. But and actually, I was having that discussion with the CEO yesterday of a large not-for-profit. They did a multi-million-dollar consulting with one of the big four on digital transformation. But I think the one component which is there is when you do digital transformation, whether it should be driven by business or classic IT department, and also how do you manage that tension or conflict between the two? How did you guys manage, or if you did not manage it well, you might have some other recommendations?
Yeah, fascinating topic, which is often like people look at it like, okay, this is IT project migration to the cloud, and we're done. How much time do we have to talk about culture and change? Yes, so that's one of the things we actually spend and still spend quite a bit of time on. Taking people on the journey of, okay, we're going to do this change, and it's actually, it's not just good for the company, it's good for you as well. It's not a threat, things, embrace change. When Finning Digital was created outside the organization, and a lot of the digital arms, many organizations I set up like that as well. So having this almost like organization a little bit outside with more perceived freedom that the traditional IT can cause friction. So again, it's about the people, taking people on the journey, talking about why are you doing this, what is the organization gaining by having a digital arm, and getting the others, almost like the other side of the equation, to contribute to digital as well. I think that there's a lot of that the digital teams can teach internal IT, and the internal IT teams, that internal development teams, a more traditional background, can also teach the digital side as well.
So one question actually I forgot, it's a completely tangent to what we are discussing. So last 3-4 months, COVID and working from home, remote teams, etc. As a professional, has it changed anything about you on the positive side, negative side, team dynamics?
Good question.
That was the question I was going to ask actually the first, and I forgot.
we're using Teams, and that's where we live now.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't live in there before. Our teams are very distributed. Now we have people. The company has presence in different countries, but our development teams are actually in South America and multiple countries. So has it changed for us? Yes, because even though we were a small team in the office, we used to like collaborate a lot, and even we were talking about this yesterday. We want to do something to replace going to the whiteboard and actually have 5 people drawing a whiteboard and brainstorming, and we cannot do that anymore. So some things have changed like that, where certain platforms have really thrived. Some tools have really thrived, like exploring Miro. Maybe that would be the way to go. But on the flip side, a lot of things that we do, we were already set up for cloud, whether it is Azure and cloud computing, or Teams, or SharePoint a lot. All those collaboration tools that were already in place now are not used even.
Good, yeah. So on this, and I'll come to more technical questions, but I think what was your biggest surprise in last 3 years on the positive side as well as negative side?
Going back to Microsoft partner,
yeah.
You work with Microsoft very closely. Azure, positive surprise, really.
Yeah, it has come a long way compared to AWS.
Obviously, crazy how much it has evolved. The support that Microsoft gives to the local Microsoft team to partners like yourself, organizations like us. Here in Vancouver, also the collaboration across different organizations on Azure, also very impressive. Again, I made some other lesson learned from digital transformation that many people don't think about is, the idea that you deploy something and you're done, it's gone. To get the most of the cloud, you need to keep improving your solutions to adapt to the new features. And that's one of the things I've noticed with Azure. Quarterly, almost monthly new releases and improvements, and Microsoft does hear your feedback. We way back maybe 2 years ago now, we tried Azure Container Services, and that didn't go very well. We were not very happy with that. We gave them feedback. But 6 months later, we will use an Azure AKS Kubernetes. So how quickly they evolve and they change, super positive experience with Azure. On the flip side, also on the Azure side, cost management. I think anyone in the cloud knows that it's really easy to spin up instances of everything, and suddenly, in a day you spend thousands of dollars. So we do have a lot of practices around cost management. There's some great tools out there that help you with forecasting, detecting anomalies, monitoring on that. But it's a culture shift, because it's something that's costing you nothing for the last month, can spike tomorrow, and sometimes you make technical decisions when you're designing your services that will impact.
So it is a real variable cost.
It's a real variable cost, and the best you can do is to talk about, to be on top of it, to know what's coming, and to actively talk inside your organization about Azure, because it's a little bit of a roller coaster at times. If you have the flexibility, but if suddenly you have a spike on whatever transactions, customers, traffic, it will go up, but it also will go down. So it's not the traditional thinking on IT is like it's a flat cost, or it's like very linear. It's a lot more variable, and you need to.
So one question actually, which is from Brett, somewhat on the same lines, is what are the assumptions which you made, say 3 years ago, which went completely sideways? Maybe top 1 or 2 assumptions which you said, oh man.
Assumptions we made 2 or 3 years ago.
You might have thought that Azure will cost only 100K a month, but it's costing $500,000 a month, or the team would be able to deliver it in 2 months. It took 6 months, or.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we probably underestimated the effort that goes into designing, implementing, and monitoring microservices, and to do it right. It's a bit of a mental shift, and it's not just for the technical team. It is for everyone else that needs to understand what counts with implementing microservices, and it was understanding of what cloud actually means as well.
Yeah.
People think that is well, I still have server and I have to manage it, and that's still the way to go. Or I think assuming that everyone is in the same step of the journey, on the same level of understanding of cloud. I think again something else in terms of evangelizing and taking people on journeys. That's definitely something to keep in mind. And let me think of one more. I like number 3 when you say 3 things that resonates with me. So let me think one more thing.
Yeah.
Assumption that we took for granted. It's something that we should have been more strict when we started. We thought, again, cloud flexibility, software development practices, we said, well, we need to be more open and people can choose their JavaScript frameworks, their microservices framework, microservices, so it doesn't matter how you build it.
Yeah.
We were quite generous on the guidelines. We were quite vague, and I think it goes back a little bit to that multi-cloud conversation, right? Pick your stack, and coach your team on that stack, and make sure that you invest on that particular technology, because down the line you will have to maintain it, right? If you have React, Angular, Vue on the front end, you will need teams that know those 3 languages to support it.
Yeah. So another question is more, I think, what you mentioned about service design, correct? In terms of capabilities, in terms of templates, any thoughts on what type of approach you took? A lot of standard design products, or you developed on your own?
We just followed having blueprints for processes. And again, I'm not a service design expert. I'm not a designer, but my background means that I used to do a lot of design work with my team. I think having a blueprint for your processes, for the processes that are key to your business, and achieving that blueprint through honest research and conversations with the people that are involved with that process, it's invaluable. Getting actual, real, tangible, hey, process design, this is what my process looks like. These are the pain points. Anyone can understand that. From the CEO to the junior developer can look at that and say, oh, I understand that when someone calls in, they are always on the queue for 45 minutes. And that can be something that drives a digital transformation project.
Yeah. So let's move a little bit on the data side.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have a lot of data coming in from various applications. You guys are obviously into IoT and sensors and all that, etc. So you have a Microsoft has this common data model sort of thing, and then Power BI, Power App. I believe you guys also use Databricks a little bit.
We use everything.
Yeah, you use everything. Yeah. So what's your overlying, say, the approach basically that how do you? There must be some data governance sort of thing that these are the 3 or 4 things which you always need to follow, single source of truth and all those type of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us the challenge has been that, and again, I say for us, but it's probably very common as well, is that the data comes from many different places, like structured, non-structured, APIs, feeds, batch, data that's encrypted and needs to be processed before it can be used. We have everything. So we have pretty traditional, ingest, clean up, and then publish to different applications process. We only started using Azure Data Factory maybe a year ago. Version 2 came out, and again, similar thing what I was saying before. Version 1 was pretty basic. Version 2 had 80-90% of what we needed, so we implemented Data Factory across the board and started migrating some of the old ingestion processes to Data Factory as well. And then we store in the Azure Data Lake. We use Azure SQL. Depending on some other the type of applications, we store some data on Cosmos DB as well. And for the front end, again, mix of a little bit of everything. Power BI. We have a little bit of Power BI, and again, maybe in terms of surprises over the last few years, the growth of Power BI in terms of capability and features and where it has come in the last maybe even like 18 months is pretty impressive. So again, we're exploring a little bit more there of what can be done in Power BI, and then more traditional single-page applications. Like I said before, we had some Angular, some React applications that consume our data from microservices.
So we have another question from Richard, based out of Calgary. Is it's interesting one that basically how do you have a business case which you can sell to C-suite so that they don't have to wait for another COVID-19 to realize that they need to be more invested in digital technologies and current way of or new way of working.
Yeah, it goes back to what's important to your CEO.
Yeah.
What makes your company tick, and if you, I'm not sure if you were at the beginning of the conversation, but I said, your own digital transformation KPIs need to tie up to your organization KPIs. Is it about risk? Is it about saving money, making money, improving customer experience? Those are your dimensions. I think if you build your business case and around something that will definitely make a difference for your organization, and then you can have your own almost like feature or product KPIs that tie to that. That's the way to go.
Yeah. So I'm intentionally shifting from technical to non-technical back to technical. So Azure has maybe hundreds of services.
Sure.
Which are your top 3 most favorite ones?
More favorite ones. I like this question. I'm not sure if it counts, but for those who were in here in February, I love Azure DevOps. No, I think it's like the most underrated tool that Microsoft has. Again, it has come a long way over the last 3 or 4 years. Azure DevOps, if you haven't tried it, it's fully integrated with the Microsoft stack. Go there. That's my #1 favorite feature on the Microsoft stack. On Azure, Azure itself, current favorite because it's up and coming, and I don't know how to pronounce it. So it's either Synapse or Synapse.
Synapse. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. At least that's how they pronounce it.
Synapse. Very interesting evolution of data warehouse. If you're not looking into it, look into it. We are looking into it. We're interested. Really powerful. Yeah.
So we have launched a POC service around that, and actually there's a Microsoft funding also for that one. And because my feeling is, I think Synapse is definitely going to eat Databricks market share.
Yeah, it's how it's bringing a whole bunch of different services that were very disparate and isolated, and how easy it makes it to consume a lot of different types of data, and the integration with Power BI. Really, again, my current favorite, I think, is Azure Synapse. Lots of promise in there. #3.
But it's version 1, by the way.
Yeah, it's version 1. So beware there. But that's where you get your risk, right? Yeah. So is it POC? Is it MVP? What's your roadmap for these features?
Any thoughts on Power Apps? Microsoft is pushing Power Apps quite a bit. Do you use?
We do have Power Apps. Again, it's another underdog, I think. Yeah. We have used Power Apps very tactically in certain parts where we said, hey, we don't have either the time or the resources to build some front end, to do some admin screens. So can we put Power Apps on top and really quickly create some solutions that maybe when we started the feature, we didn't realize we needed, and it's been really successful. Like both Power Apps, Power Automate,
and Power BI,
Forms, really interesting features in there. Again, if you haven't looked into them, Power Automate, Power Platform, definitely up and coming, and I think it will be in 2 or 3 years, will be almost de facto.
So internally, actually, yesterday we were discussing. So all these things now have or many of these have per user per month type of pricing.
Correct.
And that adds up.
Correct.
And then you start thinking whom I should have access to, whom I should not, cost management, etc. Any thoughts on?
Interesting question. I've been dealing with some of that this month. Where you say, okay, no, we built it, and it's like, oh, how many people we need access today, tomorrow? Does it go up and down? Similar to Azure costs. You probably need the idea that you will buy the license and then you forget about it. I think those days are gone as well. You need to stay on top of it. Microsoft licensing can be complicated, so you will have to rely on Microsoft themselves or a partner to help you with that. But bring all those conversations at the beginning of your journey. You know, don't leave your licensing and Azure cost conversations for go live. You know, then you need the buy-in from the business, and depending on how you're structured, different business units might need to fund different parts of your solution. Bring the conversation really early on, and it's complicated. So, get help from Microsoft or wherever.
Yeah. So one question from actually one of our architects, Vaishali from India. Oh man, this is like 11:30. Or no, it's midnight in India. And so on DevOps, which I think is interesting because a lot of organizations where we are working with, they don't have basic DevOps in place. It's still very waterfall, not having CI/CD, GitHub, all those things. Any thoughts on? You think you guys focused first on that and put that?
Yeah, we took a decision that from first deployments it was all CI/CD.
And you are on Azure platform.
Yeah, CI/CD automation. No, I said investment in automation before, both on the deployment side, QA side, and all that. For someone that's starting, again, start small. Start with a CI. As simple as that sounds, that can be challenging depending on your solution. And don't try to do everything. Don't try to, if you already have a solution in place, don't try to deploy everything with automation, but it's going to drive you crazy. Start small and build up on top of that. Don't try to do automated deployments and try to build up QA automation practice at the same time. That will be another piece of advice I would give you. Make sure you get something right, and then you can build on top.
So another question around is, which is interesting, that the speed of digital transformation, is it sometimes considered as a threat within the organization? We will say, oh man, we may lose jobs, we may lose the skills which are needed, and we may have to be reskilled, etc. So how do you address those type of challenges?
There's an interesting article from Satya Nadella that talks about tech intensity. Every company will become a technology company, and like I was saying before, it's not so much about I build it, deploy it, I forget about it. It's about people need to get used to change and get used to that. What you know today, you're probably not going to be useful in 6 months or in 10 months because the technology evolves, features evolve, features get deprecated. So it's creating that culture that you're always learning, and it's a different mindset. You cannot say, oh, I've done the training, I'm certified, I'm ready to go for the next 6 years. That's just the beginning. You're always learning, and again, Azure and features, new features, you need to POC them, R&D them, learn as you go. So that would be my advice, is that it's a whole cultural change for people that are afraid of what's going to happen to my job. But also, through digital transformation, you can free up some of the time to be actually focusing on different things. So if it is about automating processes or it's something that maybe was very manual, now suddenly is automated, and this person can now do other things or better things, more interesting things.
So another question which we come, actually one of the audience also asking, but maybe I'll ask it in a little different way. Taking best of the breed third-party applications, but is still using Azure as the backbone to like a common glue.
Yeah.
So for example, say CRM.
Yeah.
No, people may have very clear preference for Salesforce versus Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So do you take an approach where it's pure Microsoft shop, or you'll take best of the like SAP or Dynamics or XYZ, and but still use Azure for common data model and all those things?
Yeah, so in that sense, we have a little bit of everything. I think an organization that will be purely something is a bit of a unicorn. So I think you just need clear principles, right? So you might say, yes, I use Salesforce as my CRM, but Azure is my data platform. So when someone goes and designs any solutions, that's very clear. And I have clear principles, thinking up front. Those are the kind of things that are important when you have, I'm not sure if it is multi-cloud, but multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And then if you have something else like, let's say you have AEM, Adobe Experience Manager, you have a website on that. Now Microsoft has good partnerships with companies like Adobe, so
Correct.
you might say, okay, rather than running it on my own.
Or your Slack.
Oh, Slack. I'm not sure Slack. You cannot migrate to Azure. So I would say if you have Slack, migrate to Teams. Better integration with your Office suite. But it's something like AEM. No, you can run it on Azure. So it doesn't need to be one or the other. It can be all of them together.
And actually now Microsoft has a pretty strong relationship with Red Hat on Redshift, etc. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So another question which is coming from is actually anonymous, is the around your IoT, because obviously you are you using like Azure IoT, what are the products, Central sort of thing, or you have some other very specific products for IoT?
Good question. It's interesting for us because we don't really have a lot of IoT cloud resources. We have IoT data that we consume through a variety of sources. So yeah, I cannot really comment on any IoT hub or IoT resources because we are not really using them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So one question from Sukesh from KPMG, actually, this is an interesting one, is around data privacy. It's a hot topic, province, and obviously you are in multiple countries, etc. How do you, is there any overarching philosophy around do this, don't do this?
Yes. Where do I start? No, we do have policies around data privacy, and it comes with all your design for both the features and then design for your data flows, right? So I was talking about before about the segregation of different environments for different purposes, and depending on the environment, we actually have, it's okay for us to have production-like data. We are very aware of any PII, so we constantly making sure that where do we have it, we don't have it, so what do we do about it, and really build it into our processes. And then now if we need to do like content wash of, at the end of the day though, when you do development, you need data that is as close as production sometimes to do, I don't know, load testing or to do some different kind of testing. There's ways to clean up the data, and there's a lot of, there's some features built in Azure in terms of masking, now I will not remember the name of the feature, but something like transparent masking of certain fields that have sensitive information, so or auto-generating some of those fields to protect the data. So there's some built-in features in Azure that you can use for that.
So another question is more around, say, leading edge versus bleeding edge. Do you like to be sometime super bleeding edge, little bit like guinea pig type of thing? Yeah. Here's a new service, let me try it. And
if it is about myself, I do. I like turning all the Azure DevOps, all the preview features. But when it comes to the applications and production and supporting those, I think if you follow again Azure, that's what we do. If you follow the private private preview, public preview, and those kind of guidelines, you know that you cannot build solutions and push into production with those previews. Microsoft is not going to support you. But then there are different preview programs that Microsoft has that will allow you to go live with support. So those are the guidelines we follow. Like if it is in preview, you cannot use it in production.
So audience, we have another 3-4 minutes left. If you have any final questions, feel free to put them. So coming back to our conversation is like if you have to define your next 90 days or next 1 year in terms of priorities on digital transformation and more like nuts and bolts, like you may say, everything is moving to microservices. That may be, for example, a priority, or all data needs to look like this. Whatever.
I think natural synapse.
Okay.
Almost like the making big data more commoditized, more accessible to different kinds of users. I think that's big coming up over the next 6 to 12 months. I think that definitely is something to look at. We touch on Power Automate platform for Microsoft. Again, up and coming. Lots of investment in that area. I think people really need to look into that. What else? I think about the third one, but
no. So actually, that's and we were having a call with someone from Microsoft yesterday, and everybody talks about this democratization of technology, that all the users will be like developers and we should develop our app, they can play with data. I mean, people find it hard. I think I'll say a little bit of oversell rather than any thoughts on, do you also propagate that philosophy, guys? Develop your own applications?
Yeah, I think something to be mindful of is like the marketing organizations from large companies versus the reality. I think there's a lot to be said about the no-code solutions that are out there, but actually to have production-ready, operationalized with valid data solutions, you actually need some practices that come with technical people. So I'm not saying that it's not possible to have no-code solutions in your enterprise environment. Like everything, it needs clear guidelines, practices, and you need to help users to get there rather than say, well, here's a no-code platform, just fill your boots and do whatever you want.
So last question, actually, it's a good question from Matthew Parker, is if I am, what should I do? I mean, if I want to go on this journey, what should be the first, say, baby steps? Is it about culture, preparing the organization, or take some small problem and do the show success there, or?
I'll start with why.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do this?
Oh, that's a good. That's very good. Yeah.
That's not so much the technology side, but similar to what I was saying at the beginning. Why? Is it about saving money? Is it about risk? Is it about people? Why are you doing digital transformation? The rest, then it is like picking your stack, picking your partners, building the teams, culture change. All that comes after, but it's like, why are you doing it? What's the reason behind it?
No, good. Thanks. Any last piece of advice, Pablo?
No, I do appreciate. Thank you for inviting me for the chat. It's been great, and we're looking forward.
No, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a very inspiring journey, particularly in Vancouver. I think what you guys have done is one of the. You are definitely on the leading edge.
Yeah, thank you.
And so thanks, audience. Yeah, this is the end of our webinar. I think we are at 10:45, and the next one we are doing is in last week of July. And we have Mukund Mohan, who is CTO of BuildDirect. Many of you must have known that BuildDirect actually grew very fast, implemented a lot of technology, ran out of money. And then they had a complete reboot of the company with the new CEO and CTO and new investors. And I believe now they are doing super well. So we'll have first-hand insight on the technology side from Mukund. So stay tuned for more information. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Enjoy.